It is a documentary with an alarming message for America.
The story of the subjugation and indoctrination of youth behind the secrecy of these walls.
2 American teenagers held captive in a madrasa, a Pakistani religious school.
I miss my family so much. I hate the food here.
Accusations of a Taliban-linked school training the boys to hate America.
It very much got my attention.
When U.S. Congressman Mike McCall saw the film Karachi Kids, he was convinced.
It was clear they're being held against their will.
CNN first learned about the boys when the filmmaker Imran Raza offered CNN the documentary.
Over the next several years, Noor and Mahbub will be immersed into a world in which every moment of their lives will be spent actualizing the Deobandi ambitions and becoming emissaries of their totalitarian doctrine.
The film focuses on American teens Noor and Mahbub Khan. In 2004, their father, a Pakistani-born taxi driver in Atlanta, sent the boys to Karachi, to one of 13,000 registered religious schools in Pakistan, where students spend years studying every detail of their faith. But in the film, Raza describes the teens as captives, being force-fed radical jihad. He started a campaign to return the boys to the U.S. Congressman McCall offered to help, asking Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf to intervene.
When I watched the documentary, they wanted out. It's a very radical madrasas. The fact that bin Laden spoke at this madrasas and was associated with it is one piece of evidence.
In fact, some Pakistani madrasas have been linked to extremist Islamic groups. When we first spoke to the filmmaker, we asked him if this was one of them.
There are connections between this institution and the Taliban. Osama bin Laden spoke there before September 11th, and these are things that are not being told to the parents.
We came here to Jamia Benoria Madrasa in Karachi looking for the 2 boys from Atlanta. It didn't take us long to find them. They were packing to head back home.
This is your room?
Yeah.
The 2 boys, now 16 and 17, clearly missed Atlanta.
So that's the food that you miss most, pizza?
Hot wings.
Hot wings.
While the previous 4 years had been tough academically, Mahbub was proud at what he had achieved. Hafez, the memorization of the entire Quran.
How has it been here? How has these 4 years been here?
First year was difficult. Second year was a little difficult. Now it's easy.
They say they train militants. They train people to hate the U.S. Have you seen any indication of that here?
No, I haven't seen it. For the 4 years I've been here, I haven't seen any of that stuff.
Yeah.
People just they talk about Bush and they talk about a lot of presidents, but they never talk about like guns and stuff like that.
The principal of the school, the Mufti, agreed to answer our questions. The first, were you holding the boys against their will?
The children were staying of their own accord. We didn't force them to stay. This madrasa is not some jail.
And he insisted, despite what the documentary claimed, the madrasa had never hosted Osama bin Laden and has never had ties to any militant jihadi groups, including the Taliban.
Look, there are 2 things. One is upbringing, and within that upbringing is included that children throughout their life don't use drugs, don't commit adultery, don't drink alcohol, don't do wrong things, don't steal, don't plunder. Based on these principles, we tell them to live. Don't kill anyone. These are our principles, and these are what the religion teaches.
So where does the truth lie? In the words of the Mufti or the Congressman and the filmmaker? We'll provide some answers when we come back. This is the Jamia Benoria Madrasa, the religious school where the Karachi Kids documentary said Noor and Mahbub Khan were being held against their will. In a school, the film said, with ties to the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. We looked the boys' madrasa up in the International Crisis Group report on Pakistani religious schools, a report sent to us both by Congressman Mike McCall's office and the documentary producer. What we found was startling. Under the listing for Jamia Benoria Madrasa, quote, because of its name, this madrasa is often confused with the more prominent and powerful Benori Town Madrasa. This is that Benori Town Madrasa just across the street. The ICG report says it is the fountainhead of Deobandi militancy countrywide. It also boasts close ties to the Taliban. Intelligence sources tell CNN this is the school where Osama bin Laden spoke before 9/11. It's not the school the boys went to.
250, huh?
Did the documentary filmmaker spend 3 years working on his film at the wrong madrasa? We asked the U.S. State Department what it knows about the school the boys attended. The answer? It is known to U.S. officials as a moderate institution favored by Pakistani Americans for its moderate and tolerant Islamic instruction. In fact, it didn't take long for us to find pictures of the school's principal posing with the U.S. Vice Consul General in the local newspaper. 2 days after the boys returned to Atlanta, we went to talk to them and their father. He said he was astonished by the allegations made in the Karachi Kids documentary.
They don't hold it, my children. If I know something going on or something wrong in there against the United States or against the British or against anything, what do you think? I will be happy to send my children now.
Fazil Khan says his main goal was to teach his boys to be good people.
For this purpose, I send my children to learning good moral, good behavior, good citizen.
I wasn't brainwashed at all. The only thing they taught me how to do was read the Quran. That's it. That's the only thing I learned was how to read the Quran and a little bit of understanding and about the history of Islam.
The boy's father tells CNN his sons never needed rescuing, just an exit visa.
If they were at all radicalized.
He was surprised when he saw media reports that a congressman freed his children from an allegedly radical madrasa without asking him if they needed rescuing.
Missing their education.
By now, the story had taken a life of its own. Congressman Mike McCall even sponsored a congressional resolution asking the State Department to bring home all-American children from Pakistani religious schools. Some blogs even called the two boys homegrown terrorists. So what does Congressman McCall say about the apparent confusion of the two madrasas? He says, quote, the Taliban is known to recruit from Deobandi madrasas, including Jamia Benoria, and train their recruits as terrorists. Any Americans among the recruits represent a potential threat to the United States because of their unfettered access to this country. What does the filmmaker say now? He stands by his depiction of how the madrasa transformed the teens, but is re-editing his film to make some corrections.
At the end of the day, I'm the director of this project. I have to take responsibility for the mistakes. I take responsibility for the error in the allegation that Osama bin Laden was there. I take responsibility for the error in that several of the Taliban leaders were there. Yes, I do need to take responsibility for these things in terms of these were errors that sort of spun out of control.
Raza tells CNN he has stopped printing his film. Meanwhile, two boys sent to school in Pakistan to become better people have returned home to learn that not everyone does their homework. Reza Saya, CNN, Karachi.